Yeah, this podcast is approaching 2 years of existence, and I still haven't quite worked out what the optimum settings are for.
Still figuring it out.
Yeah. Well, it's funny. Like every time, I won't do a complete rundown of the different microphones that I've used in the time the podcast has existed, because that would be very niche. But I feel like I get it right, and then I forget what the settings were that worked best, and then and this is really boring, so I won't tell you any more than that.
This is our first podcast.
Yeah,
so
I wish I'd thought more about it. So I've got like an interface and a good mic, but I was just like, oh yeah, my laptop or Zoom will be fine.
Is this really your first podcast interview?
Yeah, first.
So yeah, cheers.
Quite exciting.
I feel
It's nice to celebrate.
Cheers, yeah.
I'm trying to remember.
Friday afternoone.
I mean, I'm 42. I'll be honest. It's without boasting. It's been a while since I lost my virginity, but I'm trying to remember kind of what happened afterwards. I felt like I maybe just felt a bit awkward. Maybe just a bit of embarrassment. I hope it's a smoother experience than that.
I hope so.
I'm hoping, it's going to be a nice smooth first time.
Yeah. Where are you?
So we are in Brighton, like just outside of Brighton, Hollingbury, just Ollie's gaff.
My gaff, yeah. I'm on my lunch break, so
on his lunch break from work.
But,
oh man, what a world! What a world! Bands that have got buzz about them shouldn't be having to.
Working from home vibes. I mean, like literally, I've paused work to come over here to do this, and I've got to go straight back and finish up as well.
You work like 3 jobs, so you're proper, right? Yeah.
What do you all do?
So you work in like admin, don't you?
Yeah, customer services. Have done my whole life. Used to work at Sainsbury's. I don't do that anymore. But now we're just working in an office, which is nicer.
Yeah, I work for myself. I just build websites, but when I'm touring, I literally get no time to do anything. So it's like just when I'm off tour, especially after the sort of first couple of months we've had, it's just like I need to get straight back and just work solidly to then afford to like live, and then
it's pretty
go on tour.
Pretty depressing coming off tour, and the first thing you do is go back to work.
Yeah,
like,
just go.
Reality just slaps you.
Yeah, no, totally. I don't have a tremendous amount of advice to offer with that, really, other than
at least I work for myself. I'm pretty happy about that. Although sometimes it's very hard, but at least I can get time off to do the gigs and stuff, which is the main thing.
I've used all my holiday at work now, so it's going to be an interesting conversation.
Yeah,
latter part of the year.
Be very sick. You're gonna take on new illnesses every week.
I'm going to be sick on October the 20th to.
Yeah.
You are well. I mean, you're looking a bit peaky. If you want me to be, are you drinking beer?
Yeah.
It's Friday.
Friday afternoon, whilst we're at work.
It's nearly 10 degrees outside as well.
Need something to get us through.
I don't know. I mean, I'm sure it wasn't like this when journalists were interviewing Motley Crue in the 80s, but I would like to remind you that it's only just 1 o'clock.
Yeah, it's just.
Do you know what? I found after the tour, I've been craving weird things at weird times.
It just scheduled.
I had Prosecco for breakfast the other day, and I had a pineapple for dinner. It's done things to me.
It's ruined it.
Yeah, like a whole pineapple.
I had a whole pineapple.
I watched it. Yeah, it was quite impressive actually. It was both impressive yet slightly disturbing. There was a lot of like slurping sounds that I don't wish to hear again.
I mean, I'm a bit jealous actually. I'm on quite a lot of. I have OCD. I take medication for it, and something that they don't tell you. I mean, literally, like I only found out because a pharmacist shouted at me last time when I got my prescription one time. Don't eat any pineapple or grapefruit.
Oh, really?
And I was like, what? What are you on about?
Pineapple and grapefruit?
Yeah, because there's something like with the citrus that like negates the effects of the medication.
Oh, wow.
So it's been some time since I've had a pineapple. So
that's mad. Yeah, a whole pineapple would have been game over.
Yeah, but I feel a bit like I'm living through you here. Like I'm I don't think I've ever been more jealous of someone who's had a pineapple.
Oh, pineapple.
I've got
for
one
dinner.
downstairs. So I'll crack it out now.
Crack open your pineapple.
That'd be
No,
some.
the sound was awful.
That'd be like really porny or something. Me just
Yeah,
watching.
I said this is the weirdest like OnlyFans I've ever seen in my life. Just someone just like slurping a pineapple. I was like, oh god, someone will probably pay for this, but
James would.
James would.
I mean, I really would. I really would. I'm interviewing Dan from Architects today, so it is a day of
Oh, amazing.
Sick.
it's a day of speaking to people in Brighton via Zoom.
Brighton, yeah.
I was at a gig the other night and I saw Sam from Architects. Lovely chap. And we saw him having
At a
sushi.
restaurant, yeah. You saw him having sushi the other day.
Yeah.
Didn't you go to school with?
I went to school with one of, I think it was Tom and I think it's the drummer and guitarist's sister.
Yeah. So, there's such a scene down here. Brighton's got such a buzzy and exciting music scene with loads of like great bands coming through, and like just guitar music is just coming back. I think it's really just found a second wind. I think, like especially since COVID, everyone's been craving it, and it's just been
definitely the best the Brighton scene's been. I think
it's the best it's been for a long time. It's like every show seems to be just really buzzy, and just everyone wants to be out listening to music.
Just the quality of the band as well.
The quality of the bands is tremendous.
Really exciting.
Yeah, no, I'm really interested to see where it all goes. Really, my wife works like more on the industry side of things, and she's always, we always have conversation. I mean, we probably talk about it too much, really, but she, that wasn't a dig. If my wife is listening to this, we talk quite a lot about like the economics of it all. Like the how sustainable it is with the money that's being made to take bands out on the road, and I guess that worries me. But it certainly does feel like there is a craving for something that is maybe deemed to be a little bit more real. Like, and I don't want to sort of be like, oh, you have to have kind of guitars for something to be authentic, but I think that people are craving just that sound.
I agree. I think it's just when there's so much talent coming through, and people just want to get a release, really. I think it's because people are under so much pressure. I mean, for us as well, with like work and stuff, if we feel it and we just want to be at gigs all the time, I mean, I'm sure other people do as well. But I just know when I finish, I just want to go and see some live music. We're just sort of massive fans of just being out there and going to see what's on the scene, seeing what's around. I think I've always said it, like there is no scene unless you're sort of part of it. Do you know what I mean? There's no one's going to come see you if you're not seeing what everyone else is doing.
And that's the mentality.
That's the mentality.
Yeah.
And that's what
a lot of people
really,
right now, but everyone
Brighton has that mentality, and it's quite exciting.
Definitely. I've always wondered what it is about Brighton, to be honest. I mean, I know it's like, it's more sort of like the liberalism of the place is almost sort of in its DNA, really. But I've never really, and I guess that traditionally there's probably something about it being like close enough to London to get into London, but you don't have to be in London. I'm sure that's something to do with it as well. But it's always really not surprised me. I've never really been able to totally understand why Brighton's always been such a fertile place for creativity.
Yeah, I mean,
because it's not like it's a cheap place to live or anything.
No, I mean, we've got a music uni here, haven't we? We've got BIM.
There's BIM, which is here. We didn't go. Neither of us went to BIM, but it's quite a bit of
a lot of bands come through there.
Sort of factory line of great bands sort of coming out of that place. And I think most musicians in Brighton did go there. We went to another little college. We went to like Access to Music. It's not there anymore, but that's where we met.
Flats now. But it's like BIM if BIM was from South London.
Yeah, we went to the downgraded, I guess it was great, but it was definitely
rough.
It was rougher. Yeah, we went to the pub first day of college. Do you know what I mean? We just got thrown in a room go on, play some music. That's where we met first day. Chucked in a room oh, go on. And then we just four guitarists in a room someone's got to play bass. And then Ollie was like, yeah, I'll do it. And then look back now. But yeah, it was kind of then do that and then go to the pub after. It was a bit that was kind of the college vibe for us most days.
The first band I was ever in, I say band in inverted commas, we were, when we were really little. I think we had 5 guitarists at one point because it was like
just guitarists coming out your ears.
No one wanted to do anything else, you know. I'm really pleased that earlier this week someone told me your band were called Snayx because
Snacks.
I had a period of time where I've been like, there's this band and they sort of remind me a bit of like, you know, sort of like a Kid Capici or like a bit of a kind of punkier hard fi kind of thing, and they're called Snacks. And no one pulled me up on it, but it was just your PR, the magnificent Emma Van Dyke said to me, no, actually, you say it like snakes, you know. So
even though we put bracket snakes in our Instagram bio, we still get snacks all the time.
I think people like it. People prefer calling us snacks. I mean, we just accept it now. We're snakes or snacks. People even though they know we're snakes, they'll still call us snacks. And
snacks.
Snacks. Yeah, all the time. And I think we were chatting about it. We were discussing maybe just bootlegging our own merch, just spelling it snacks and just selling it outside the venue after a show, just like deliberately misspelt, like badly done. Just like
I mean, it is that thing of like if you'd been in a club and you left and you were hungry, you would be like, oh, you know, should we go get kebab at Snacks? Like,
it sounds like an off-brand kebabi.
Absolutely. Kebabi.
Yeah, I don't know why I called it that.
You just thought you'd make it sound cuter by adding a Y on the end.
Nice little kebabi.
So tell me about Weaponized Youth. That came out last week, right?
Yeah. It came out as our debut EP. It's just we've been sort of so excited to release it for ages. We've been sort of waiting to sort of put it out there at the right time and just let it do its thing. It's just our sort of first real sort of body of music that we wanted to sort of put out there. And I mean, the name I think sort of came to me in a weird sort of fever dream in the shower. Like, I was sort of daydreaming in the shower. Had this really
all his best ideas come in the shower.
Just always songs. I was in the shower today, Ollie, and he's like, "Oh, here we go."
Shower songs.
Shower songs. But I just seem to just have an idea, like jump out the shower, sort of like just dripping wet, just grab my phone and just like record like this really weird like audio sort of idea, and then just like. And I go show Ollie, and Ollie's like, "Oh God, he's got to listen and like transpose this like random I've got or something." But I came up with this idea in the shower actually for a music video. I was like, "Oh, wouldn't it be really cool if there was like this music video where like the kids sort of like young like kids will sort of form this sort of like guerrilla sort of style military sort of coup, and they sort of took over because like things are just like." Awful like government level where like adults can't be trusted, and I was like
stuck the knees back gun crime in
America. There was a lot at the time it was all gun crime in America. I think with like the George Floyd thing especially being really present at that time, and we were just post Brexit sort of Trump world, and I sort of came up with this idea. I was like, look, Ollie, I don't have a song, I don't have a riff or anything, but I've got this idea for a music video. I sort of explained it to you. I think you looked at me like I was like I had two heads or something. I just had this little like one little like repetition of like I don't know. It was really random, but I was like the one line with the weaponized youth, and we don't actually use that in the songs, but that's what we used to sort of use as the formation. And then we didn't really have anything, and we sort of sat down in the studio. We were recording, I think, Deranged and Body Language, and we had a bit of time. We nailed down the drums so quick, and he was like, "Oh, have you got anything else?" And I was like, "Well,
got this song.
It's really loose. We haven't really got anything for it." And he's like, "Well, our producer Josh Harrison was like, let's do it now." And we're like, "We'll just do it. We've got time." And we're like, "Okay." So we just worked off that, and we built it outwards.
A couple of riffs, and it just worked into a song in the studio. It was quite exciting,
a really different way of working for us, especially the formation to how it was then created. And I think it's clear that the way that particular song comes across in the EP is quite contrasting to the sort of the punky stuff. But we wanted to show we have that side to what we do, that sort of like deeper, more like lyrical side. And I went away and just sat down.
It's like 4 minutes long. We write songs for like 2 minutes,
3 minutes. But then that was sort of our sort of like rock epic, if it were. And it was just basically just really just spouting all of our sort of like venting all of our feelings about the sort of like past sort of
5 years,
5-6 years at the time. It was just sort of it was quite cathartic in a way, but
it's
yeah.
I mean, it only takes a few spins of your songs to realize that there's definitely a frustration about the way things are. What age bracket do you fall into? Are you Gen Z or millennials?
Millennials.
It's dead interesting because I guess that when I was young, when I was sort of early 20s, I really did feel like everyone over an age didn't have a clue what they were doing, and like almost like young people needed to be the people who were driving change. And now that I'm like an old person and think there's a lot of like what I would sort of describe as quite regressive ideas that I think have come out of I mean, I'm going to age about 100 years when I say this, but like there's a lot of quite regressive but allegedly left-leaning ideas, I think, that have emerged in recent years. I personally, they don't sit very well with my vision of what society could be. But so I'm a little bit. I've probably like come to value kind of age more. Like I've come to value wisdom. The wisdom of age more. But at the same time, nothing. It's very clear that nothing is working. It definitely feels like society is threadbare and falling apart. So I've maybe arrived, and I don't say this with any glee, I've maybe arrived at a bit of a place where I've maybe just started to think that no one knows how to make society work.
I think that's very present. I think in sort of like the lyrics as well, like in Weaponized especially. It's like it's people just don't really know what to do. Like no, like it's that we're just strays, just the throwaways, drifting on the wind. I'm a stranger in my skin, nothing left for me. Left foot, right foot, no one knows the way.
My opinion's
a little further every day. We're just blindly sort of going down this road. Like no one really knows what's happening, and that's it's that particular. It's like that was a real strong feeling I had. This sort of like feeling of being a bit lost, and whatever I say is wrong. I don't know what's right, what's wrong, and it's just sort of it's very much exactly what you've just described, and that was a real strong feeling that was present when writing the lyrics to Weaponize.
Yeah, I think that maybe I think that I mean I think where I've arrived at is that I wonder whether society, life, whatever we're loosely calling this, was always as chaotic as things are, but there was less transparency, perhaps because the internet either didn't exist or wasn't as prevalent, and also I think there just was more trust in things like institutions, or what you didn't know couldn't hurt you. And I think that actually maybe things haven't changed at all. It's just that there's things that you think about now that you just never used to think about. Like, for example, you've just mentioned George Floyd there, and I could talk about George Floyd for like an hour, right? Like, because I could go, there's loads of things. I mean, obviously what happened was just brutality and a tragedy, right? But I could go into it where I have opinions about kind of what happened after that, or I could go into opinions about the police, and I was never like crazy on the phrase defund the police. It just felt quite regressive to me. But at the same time, kind of where am I kind of going with this? It's almost like there was a period of time where I just didn't think about that. I just kind of went, oh yeah, the police, law and order, that's kind of what holds us all together, And actually now you kind of go, no, actually there's loads of problems there, but at the same time, I'm just a guy that really likes music. What do I know?
But it's that spotlight the media puts on these things as well, and I mean, especially at the moment as well, even considering all the stuff with the Met Police and the way that they're looking, it's like that's due a reform for sure. But it's like, but what you're saying is so true. It's like, I guess years ago, no one was even looking at this stuff because it wasn't really presented to you on a plate. But I guess with social media and having this like level of connection and instant sort of communications, it's like it's right there on a plate for you at all times to form opinions. And I think that's probably where, you know, we get where things are so divided.
I think that almost comes back to what you were saying though about the kind of music that you make. Is I actually do feel like people are just craving joy in a way that it felt. You know, I just think there's only so much that people can take.
I agree. I think that's such a thing we try and put across in our live shows. Is yeah, it's punky, it's political, but it is also really fun, and it's a release, and it's just the joy of being in that room in that moment. Everyone's just sort of having this sort of like communal release, and like I spend most of the time like jumping in because that's where I want to be, bouncing around with everyone else. That's where I'm just most happy. And I think you're right. It's just this joy in live music and just celebrating that release. It's like it's the way chance to get away.
Yeah, I read this slogan once not that long ago, and I think it was almost like, I'm going to bumble it now, but it was almost the idea of like joy in itself is a political act. Like joy is resistance, you know, like almost like not being ground down by it, actually still managing to look at the world every day and go, oh, there's loads to live for. I think it is in itself almost like an act of revolution.
I agree. I think it's a fantastic sort of like mindset, especially again where we're sort of struggling so mentally as well with mental health. A lot of people, it's just you need stuff like that. You need that joy.
Yeah, absolutely. Why did you decide to do this as two people? Was there ever a point where you were like, okay, we're going to flesh this out to
I'm more new than that soon.
So I mean, to be fair, we've been in bands before, and it had always been sort of like 4, 5 pieces, and we just came to the conclusion that too many people to manage was hard work. We found it much easier to manage 2 people's schedule, which was kind of, I guess, the crux of it. I think we were in a band before, and I think because of like conflicting schedules, we'd only played like about 7 gigs in about a year, and we were like,
that's unacceptable.
That's unacceptable. We sat down, we went for a Chinese lunch, didn't we, at a little restaurant in Seaford, and we were like, right, what are we going to do? What's the plan? Because this isn't us. Like, we just want to be playing gigs. I said I want to be doing 7
fucking bones, man. We need to be playing gigs.
I said I want to be doing at least 7 a month. You know, like we're doing 7 a year. This isn't it. And we were just like, right, well, we'll let them do their thing. We're going to go and just start something just us, because we both wanted to do it. And we were just like, we're going to go do this. And we sort of stuck with 2-piece, chucked the drums on like a track for ages, and we just played as a 2-piece. And that worked fine for like, a little bit, gigs, pub gigs and sort of small intimate settings where live drums are just going to be too loud and too clashy in certain small rooms. But we very quickly started getting found out when we got into the bigger venues. Like, without the live drums, it's just you lack that energy. So we started using session drum players. And it did change things for us quite drastically and quickly, and because they're session drummers, they were always available. But now we've been using sort of Lainey, our sort of drummer. She's from Sheffield, for about a year now, and she's been just so like invaluable to what we do. It's like I think there'll be official announcements hopefully soon. But we're looking to make her permanent.
That's cool.
So we popped questions, so we just
pop the question. Yeah, she's quite integral. So,
did you get down on one knee, or would that be kind of make
for a little dinner, didn't we?
We took her to sushi in the arcades. She loves the arcades. So. 2p machines.
Good. I mean, getting down on one knee would be a bit weird and make it
both of us.
Both. Will you be a fan with me?
Listen, it's 2023. We live in all kinds of modernity. Everything's up for grabs.
Yeah.
What's what? Obviously, the EP came out last week. What's the plan now?
Yeah, so we're already in the studio recording a follow-up. Yeah, we've got part 2 in the works.
Being produced by Jamie Hall from Tiger Cub.
Jamie. Really exciting. He's a bit of a genius, I think, in the way he sort of works. I'm a big fan of like the stuff in his Tiger Cub stuff and his Nancy stuff too. He's got some really great ideas that we just love to sort of feed off, and he's such a presence in the studio and in the practice rooms. We just buzz off of it, and we just come up with so many ideas, and we just collaborate so well. So yeah, we're recording the new EP, and it's got some really, really exciting stuff. We can't wait to sort of show. We're taking the sort of production up a level, trying to work in sort of like, like some extra instrumentation, really sort of evolve that sort of recorded sound. And I think we've got a couple of singles we're going to put out hopefully soon, and they are so much closer to our live set, which is what we always strive for, because live is where we are most like
I don't think we
most connect. We're still working towards that. I think overall, and it's something we're sort of building. But
people always say you're way better live than you sound recorded.
And
completely different.
And I think that's always our focus.
Yeah, when I was in a band, I used to hate that. I always used to be like, but I worked really hard at trying to make this sound nice. Well, you prefer it where break a guitar string in the second song. Oh, cheers, thanks. No, I think it's really exciting what you guys are doing. I think that, with Kid Capici and like Nova Twins and like
both of them bands,
Bob Dylan, like I just think that there's it feels like something is happening, which is, I think as a music fan, that's all you can never really hope for. I mean, I always think that good music exists, but when I think it always exists, like if you know where to look, there'll always be good music. But I think that when like a clutch of groups, like you say, like Bob Dylan, like when they kind of all happen at once, I just think it's more than that. It's like there's just something.
It's a scene,
but this is just something in the ether, It's like there's some sort of feeling within society or culture that has brought this bunch of people together, and as you said, a scene.
It's. I mean, we've seen it, like especially with the likes of what Nova Twins were doing. They were at our first ever show. I mean, we got invited to our first ever show supporting Kid Capici. Right. Nova Twins were down the front, and we were like, wow, this is really cool. And then you look at the progression of where Nova Twins are now, and then you look at where Capici are now, and you look at sort of that sort of wave and trajectory, and that's the sort of the scene that we just want to be part of, and we just want to be sort of continuing that and bringing new bands through as well. It's kind of that nurturing of the grassroots that I think is happening so well down here on the South Coast. It's like Capici offered us our gig after hearing nothing. They heard nothing of us, and they just based on a loose chat we had in a smoking area about Buckfast, they offered us a show. So we always try and do that and just nurture like the other bands as well on the scene in Brighton, and it's creating this momentum, I think
it's inspiring for the younger bands. Obviously, we've never had the industry connections. We've sort of had to work really hard to sort of
it took us a long time to even sort of start.
Like we only got a team like last year, but we've been just
always
through just constantly
hard work. It's always like we just always say like do that 10% more. Do you know what I mean? Like it's just go do it. Don't worry about it later. It's kind of our mentality a lot of the time. It's like when opportunities come through, it's just do it. Just go do it.
Yeah, it's funny. I've thought about this so much over the years, and about like the idea of DIY or punk, or like what it really means in essence. And I think that ultimately, when it comes down to it, it is just that thing of not needing anyone's permission to do something. I think that's I think it's exciting. I'm going to wrap there and go look at JPEGs of pineapples.
Okay. Sounds like a good plan. Yeah. I'm going to go watch Ollie actually eat one.
I can show you a real one.
You slag. Listen, so lovely to speak to you. I'm sure I'll see you at a show at some point.
Thank you so much. Thanks for having us.
Yeah, thank you so
much. It's been a pleasure.
Our first podcast.
Thanks for making our first time so easy.